didn't go with Jack. I was with Danny.
Yeah.
But then Jack goes to all the games.
Yeah. Jack,
nobody goes with Jack.
Jack has a standing invitation, and so he's there, and he keeps turning to Rob, and he's spitting like gibberish at you. Like, give me some examples of.
Yeah, like first of all, it's Jack Nicholson, so you're like, oh, this will be cool. But I don't want to bother him.
Yeah,
but if he says something
polite
to me, I'm gonna respond in kind. And he's very clearly a basketball fan.
Oh yeah.
And I was there enjoying the basketball game, and he said something, turned to me, and I was like, oh, he's gonna talk to me. This is cool.
Talk to me. Holy shit!
And he said something like 45 half, and then back to the quarter, and that'll be
45 half.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Huh?
What, man?
And he's like, I wish I remember the exact phrase because it was. In fact, I remember I texted it to you right after it happened, and I was like, "This is what the guy said to me."
It's in the cloud somewhere.
We gotta find it.
I think that was 6 phones ago.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's some way. It exists somewhere.
It's
the NSA is looking at it. They've got it.
Gatesy got it.
Gatesy got it.
He's all over it. What's this text now?
Sometime up in the half court there, and I was like, maybe I can't hear him correctly because it's loud. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about.
You said that to him?
Yes. And then he just laughed and like turned away. And I was like, well, Jack Nicholson, everybody.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But not in a, I wanted to engage with him.
Yeah. No. The way you told it to me, and I respected it more in this version, was eventually you got frustrated and you were like, look, man, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Which was the balls on you to do that. I would just
that's that Philly thing, man.
I would be so insecure around him, likely, that I'm just imagining that I would respond to him. I'd be like, absolutely, man.
Yeah, 45 half.
45 half,
and then some.
100%. And can you believe it?
Right, just trying to make something out of it.
Yeah, I would take whatever I could out of it and just go with the flow.
But see, this is the.
I wanted to engage with him in a meaningful way.
I would engage in just the word I needed. 45, absolutely 45, man.
Well, this is the problem with somebody that is super has been super duper famous for a very long time. It is not required of them from the people that surround them to make sense, right? They can literally say and do whatever the fuck they want, and people will be like, yeah, Jack.
Being around Danny was a good introduction for us to that, where it's like, sometimes he would say again, a non sequitur on the set, and then people like die laughing, and we'd be like, what the fuck is he talking about? But like now, I don't know. Now I die laughing. I think that everything the guy says. But
I do think that's a symptom of being surrounded for so many years by people that just laugh at whatever you say, even if it doesn't make any sense and isn't funny at all, because you're Danny DeVito and nobody wants to ruffle your feathers and everybody wants to be in your good graces. So they're just like, they just laugh at your fucking nonsense, and to the point where you just start to go like, well, I guess everybody understands what's in my head. You just say whatever the fuck is in your head without. It's like you say the middle.
But then there's also that '70s thing, man, of like, hey, like there was a lot of partying, and life was loose, conversations were loose.
Cocaine brain.
And to bring it full circle back to the conversation, we had that breakfast with him or lunch. And it was conversations like, my dad used to keep a box of like watches and teeth, and it could be like that. And
well, hold on a second. I just want to clarify. You're not just making something up right now. That was the conversation.
That's word for word.
He was saying that his grandfather kept a box of watches and teeth.
His father.
Oh, his father? I thought it was his grandfather. Okay, yeah.
Either way, a man in his life.
A man, an important man in his life kept a box of watches and teeth and was telling us some kind of a story. And we were like, is he telling us a story as himself, or is he being frank right now?
It was very hard for us to tell if he was in character or if he like.
He might have been in character that entire lunch, and I just did when we were like, I don't know.
But if you really
can we speak with Danny there? Can we speak with Danny?
If you look at it, the show did become about a fucking lunatic who would have a bunch of watches and teeth in a box. And
so he was right.
He was spot on. Yeah.
It's funny to be talking to us like we're Milos Forman as opposed to three dudes making a dick and ball comedy at lunch in the middle of Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to do this shit with us, man. Like we're not at the Actors Studio. This is you don't have to be all fucking. You can just come in and kind of say your lines.
Once we got him, I went back and watched every single Danny DeVito thing that I could because I wanted to be like, what other ways is he funny? Like we knew we were like, all right, we're not gonna do like short jokes. It's lazy, you know. He doesn't want us. I mean, he didn't say that, but we didn't want to be doing like that kind of thing. So like, what are some things?
Well, it was.
Like there's some obvious ways.
It was implied
like,
because you guys remember it was a week. Not that though. You remember where that came from, right?
Johnny Short Arms. Or
Frankie Short Arms.
Frankie Short Arms.
Right, but there was a guy named something Short Arms. It was like a
Teamster in New York.
Yeah.
That like I remember I had him on the show Third Watch and he was driving me around. So
yeah,
and he had like short arms.
So we thought it'd be funny. So when we were doing the gang or whatever the boxing episode, whatever the fighting episode, boxing episode is called, $100 Baby. We thought it'd be funny if Frank's nickname when he was back when he was young and he was a boxer was Frankie Short Arms. And he was, we were pitching this to him. We were like, you know, so and you were younger and you were like a boxer, you know, when you were younger and you had like a nickname like Frankie Short Arms. And he's like, yeah, not that though. And ever since then, like we
hung on to not that though.
Has become like an ongoing phrase. Like, you know, whenever somebody pitches something that we think is not that funny, we're like, yeah, not that though.
Having worked in a writer's room for so many years, specifically with you guys, and like, you know, only 30% of the time you're actually laughing at maybe something I pitch, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's good. But like 70% of the time you guys are just like, nah, not that though, or staring at me or whatever. And we all do that to one another.
Sure.
And then, you know, like
it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling,
but it's like so important to the process, right? Yeah. So like 10 years the show's been on the air. And I remember being in a room over at Carousel, and you guys, for whatever reason, weren't there that morning or something. And there was a room full of writers, and Megan was there. And I remember I pitched something, and the whole room like erupted in laughter. And I look over, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that goes on the board. And I look over at Megan, she's not laughing.
Uh-oh.
And I just looked at her, I said, you didn't find that was fun? You know, what do you think, Megan? She was like, I guess I'm just wondering what it feels like to have an entire room full of people that you pay laugh at everything you say.
Oh, shit. Damn. You said that, Megan?
Yes.
Good for you. That was probably like her
Megan
first year, right?
By the way, she's laughing over, for the listener at home, she's laughing and...
Oh my God!
I just remember.
And I remember you would be like, "Can we fire her? We got to fire her. We got to fire this girl." Like, what are you talking about? Like,
I imagine.
I just think they said girl too. I was like, "Get this girl out of here!"
Right. Get this
I know she's a girl. She's a 29-year-old, 30-year-old girl.
Yeah.
No, but I definitely remember like laughing, of course, and then really thinking about that quite a bit because it's exactly what you're talking about, which is if you continue to surround yourself with people, A, who you hire, right? Or B, who just like say yes or laugh at everything you say, then of course, slowly but surely, you're going to turn into that person that thinks that everything they say is funny.
That's right.
And if you don't surround yourself with people who check you and tell you, hey, man, that's not funny, it shouldn't go on the show, then your shit's going to suffer.
That's right.
I will argue, though, with Danny, specifically, everything he says is fucking funny. Like, but like,
you got to learn to speak his language.
Not necessarily what he's saying is funny, but he has an essence. Because I remember, you know, in that first season, for us, it was a little confusing to be like, oh, well, you know, he's jumbling some of these lines in a way that, like, the line doesn't make as much sense when he does it in that order. And we can't necessarily, like, and it, you know, it wasn't so egregious that, like, we weren't getting through a scene, but be like, oh, he's kind of switching that line up, and it's not as funny. But, like, you watch it, and you go back and you watch those episodes, it doesn't matter what he's saying or in what order.
Right.
Like, his spirit, his essence, his attitude is so amusing.
Sometimes the jumbled up, messed up version of the line ends up being funnier than the line itself.
Yeah. This is a moment of appreciation for Danny DeVito doing the show, because that thing, that star quality thing, and Danny's not like a star. He's a superstar. He's a mega superstar. He's iconic. People love him. The fact that this guy came onto the show,
I still don't know why.
Crazy.
I still don't know why.
It's crazy.
I was having that like experience watching and listening to the episode this morning, being like, he completely transformed this thing. And I don't think there is a show without him, man. Like,
no, definitely not.
Oh my God, like,
no, there is no show without him for
anyway,
sure.
That's my appreciation moment for this guy.
Well, so I had a question for you guys that's kind of related to this episode. Have either of you ever pretended to be something that you are not in order to get something that you want, like in a major way, like these characters?
Every day of
my life. Well, I was going to say besides pretending to be a showrunner.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I did used to dress up. My friend's dad had a one of those airplane landing lights, like it's like that cone light.
Cool.
And we found it in his basement, and he had like a orange like work coat too down there. Mm-hmm. So I did used to.
Rob's laughing. Why are you laughing?
I was just thinking about. We went down to the airfield and we were taking planes down into the lakes.
No, we didn't do that, but we did go into an intersection and direct traffic.
Oh shit! That's really funny.
Yeah. So my friends,
that's a good bit.
My friends were hiding in the bush with a walkie-talkie, and I had the walkie-talkie in the airplane thing. So the car would come up and they would go on the walkie-talkie like, yeah, shit's hit the fan down there, man. You can't go down that street. I'm like 14 years old.
How old?
14. I'm like, you can't go down that street. You're gonna have to take a left here on Vernon, and you're gonna want to head down to Federer. You can take it right there. Yeah, 106. And like, basically, we would get like 5 or 6 cars until someone would be like, "What is this? What are you doing?" Because, and then we would get chased.
That's a funny thing. That's a funny thing.
The goal is to get chased.
Do you, as a driver, approach someone with a walkie-talkie and one of those things,
a vest and a light,
and the light, and the whole thing, and the guy's trying to give you, tell you where to go with the light and doing the whole thing, but you're like, but he looks like he's 14 years old. This can't be right. Like,
and there's no sign of work or trouble or anything.
But do you do it?
There's
do you
a
do
man
what the
in the
14-year-old says?
80% of people do.
I bet. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
you know now.
And 20% of them chase you through the woods, which was the ultimate goal.
I don't know if this falls into the same category of what you asked, but it falls into the category of what Charlie just, the story he told. But I was like 16 or 17, maybe younger. And I used to play this game, which was so cruel and terrible, that we called Dead Guys. And it was, we would be at the Jersey Shore, and you'd wait till like sunset. And then you knew that people were just sort of like walking down the beach. And so we would just roll in the surf as if we were dead, like a dead body. And so you could breathe, but you would just kind of like flop around, and then the waves would like come up and crash you, and then people wouldn't know what was going on, but they saw, and they would be watching like, what's happening?
Did you kind of have your eyes open a little bit?
Just a little bit, just to get the reaction. But then there'd be other, and then they'd come running over like, are you okay? And then you just get up and run away. And the last time we did it, I was doing it with a friend of mine, Dennis Hogan, and it was a group of guys, like probably in their 20s, and they were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And we were like, "Yeah!" And we ran into the water, and then we were like laughing and joking, and then we looked, and they were standing on the beach, and they were just waiting, and we were like, "Hey," and they were like, "Come on out, boys," and we were like, "Oh no, it was just a joke." And they were like, "Yeah, well, it wasn't funny to us. We'll be here for you." And we were like, "These guys are gonna kick our ass," which they should, which they absolutely should. And so we were like, "What the fuck do we do?" So we tried to swim like up and down the beach, but you can walk a lot faster than someone can swim. So they would just walk with us, and we just waited in the water for 3 hours until finally they left, and then we walked away in shame and never did it again.
Oh my God! Wow. Last time I played Dead Guy, I almost killed myself. So.
Well, we covered that.
We covered that one.
Yeah.
I did a similar thing with my buddies. Like right when I got my driver's license, and I guess I was 16, and all my friends were younger, and we would drive around doing bad things. But I would pull up at an intersection, and I would pretend to pass out on the horn, so my head would be on the horn, like and my friends would be panicking, like trying to revive me, and the people because we want to see the reaction of the people in the car next to us, and they'd be looking over. Most people didn't do anything. Occasionally, someone rolled down the window and be like, "Are you okay?" And then we just like laugh and speed out of there.
Just to be a
dumb, just to be a dumb young idiot.
Just to get a little laugh, just to get a little rise out of life. You know, it's harmless shit.
That made me think of a really stupid prank that I used to play. Okay, so when I first moved to LA, my parents had, thankfully, they hung on to my high school my car that I got my senior year, It was a 1990 Acura Legend. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. And this car had one of those giant brick, car phones in it, those old school car phones from like the early 90s. So I had to go pick up my car in Montgomery, Alabama, and drive it out to LA, which is like a 3-day trip. I mean, you can do it in less, but I didn't want to kill myself. So this giant, so I never took that giant brick phone out of the car because I just thought it was so funny. I'd be driving down the freeway, and just in order to keep myself amused and awake, I would do this thing where I would be driving with my knees, and I would have I would have the giant brick phone, which, by the way, at that point would have been a 15-year-old phone. Like, we had Nokias and shit like that, so it looked ridiculous. So I would pull up next to somebody on the freeway. I'd have this giant brick phone in my hand, and with the other hand, I'd be gesturing wildly, having a very furious conversation with someone on this giant brick phone, not paying attention to the road at all, completely not using my hands. And I still to this day don't know if anybody actually ever noticed that I was doing it, but I sure got a kick out of it. I thought it was fun.
I'm hearing 3 stories of young men who are desperate for attention.
Oh,
just
definitely.
desperate for anybody to pay attention.
I was
to
doing
them.
a bit. I was doing an acting bit.
Yeah,
You just
same.
want people to
they were
pay
all
attention,
acting
man.
bits.
Yeah, all stupid
Look
bits.
at me.
Yeah, look at
Mom,
me.
Dad,
Yeah.
Well,
whatever.
or look at me, friends. So, like,
Friends.
for me, it was all about my group of friends. Like, let me make them laugh.
I didn't even have anybody with me when I was doing this stupid fucking
Yeah,
prank.
that's
Like, this was
interesting.
purely for my own amusement.
hoping someone will watch.
I stand by it. I think it was I think it's a funny bit. I think if you look over and you see some guy with a giant brick phone, and he's gesturing wildly with both of his hands, I think that's funny to me.
I think that's a good bit too.
Thanks, man.
I like that.
I appreciate it.
That's bit approved in my book.
Boy, I also listened to the first 2 Harry Potter books on that trip. So, guys, well, it was a long trip, wasn't it? Where were you guys? Do you remember where were you when season 2 got picked up and you found out the news? And what were your feelings about it? How did it make you feel? What did you think? Where were you when you got the news? And how did you feel?
I don't recall.
Well, I know where I was. I know exactly where I was when Danny signed on to do the show.
Okay.
Because it was minutes after I left his house. He called John and John called me. And I was like almost like on his street still. And then I called you guys like immediately. So I think that was why we got picked up, right? So as soon as he signed on, that was sort of it. And then,
it wasn't official yet, but at that point you knew it was like that was what was required of us.
Yes.
To get somebody who could bring eyeballs to the show.
Yeah.
On the show, and we got someone way better than we ever in a million years could have thought we would have got.
And he probably got maybe 15 to 25 more eyeballs on the show.
He did. Yeah,
2.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe 30 more eyeballs.
Sure.
Which is 15 people.
That's a lot of people. 15 people, 30 eyeballs.
Do you guys remember how much of a hard time we had cutting that final car crash where you guys drive
God.
truck?
Yes, totally.
Because we didn't have a stunt team. But watching
It's
it,
so janky.
I like it.
I was just so excited to feel like, the show, I can see how the show took off from here. It doesn't mean we got it right every time, but it feels like, this feels like Sunny. And it also made me excited about this podcast because I think that first season of the podcast is a little rocky, but I think this is going to be the episode where we really find our way. Although the first season's finale, where Mr. Steven Spielberg came.
Well, that was just a huge get.
That was a huge
That was a
get.
big get for us, because
I mean that was a Danny DeVito level get.
Yeah.
And we got him in season 1. I mean that's pretty cool. I have a feeling he's going to come back. I think he told me later he had a good time. He said he had a good time. Well, guys, what else?
I know, pretty good podcast.
Pretty
maybe.
good
I feel
podcast.
like
Yeah.
maybe
Should we
did-
talk about how good the podcast was?
No, definitely.
Should
not.
that be a segment where we? No.
Oh God, no.
Well, right now we're shooting season 15 of the show, and
15.
wow.
Monumental.
But I I do think there was something good about coming in and doing a podcast before we go film.
Yeah.
Because I will say that oftentimes, like when we go to write or whatever, this is a time where we joke around, we talk, I feel like we communicate best. Nice. We're not tired yet, you know. We're not old and grumpy and tired.
Right. We got our cold brew coffees.
We got our coffee in us, and we're looking forward to the potential of the day. Is that what it is?
I would say
I'd say it's
that
the caffeine
it
thing.
might be, for me, that I've now used all of my energy for the podcast and have absolutely nothing left for the filming of the show. But it
Okay.
doesn't matter because I get paid either way.
Well, this will
I'm
be
pay or
fun.
play.
This will be fun for the viewer. Then, after you listen to this podcast,
Yeah.
go and watch The Gang Replaces D with a Monkey, because that's what we're watching. That's what we're about to shoot.
And see if Glenn seems a little low energy.
See if he seems a little bit low energy.
You know what? I'll bring it.
I think you'll be
force it.
fine.
I'll force
I
it.
think you'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I can fake it real good now. I've figured out how to do that. I honestly have not been present as an actor on this show for many, many years.
Have you been present as a human within your body and your thoughts ever?
You know, there were a couple times where I did mushrooms.
And
that's
then
where I
and then
came
you
into my-
arrive, and then you're like, okay,
I was like, oh,
Here it is.
Yeah, okay, here I am.
Yeah,
And then but the rest of the time, it's like you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, but you're already thinking about like what's for dinner and like.
I think you'll be very, very good in today's scenes because it's it's a lot of like just us in the bar.
Oh boy, we have a lot of dialogue today, guys. There's a lot of talkie.
We do, but
lot of talkie.
It's not talkie and walkie, so like we'll it's real simple stuff. We'll
No walkie and
No,
talkie.
you don't have to walkie and talkie. No, not proppy. We're just kind of sitting talking. It's
Well, there's going to be an imaginary monkey in the room all day.
No, a real monkey.
no a real monkey, Rob.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah. That's Surface Season 1 thing.
Well, guys, this has been fun. I'll see you on set.
Rob, did you work out this morning?
No, I had some crazy dreams. I was up all night from about 2 to about 4:30, and then I fell back asleep.
What were you dreaming
I fell
about?
back asleep.
Were you dreaming about
It was
me?
it was dark stuff. Dark stuff. Not for this podcast.
Were you
Kill me
dreaming
for
you
different
had
podcast.
COVID?
No.
Did you kill anybody? Did you kill me?
No, I have a recurring nightmare that's in that space. Not you.
But where you kill, you murder.
Well, yeah, it's happened in the past. But there's no
You're
violence.
living with it.
Is that I think is that like imposter syndrome, like to the max, where you're like, okay, I'm a fraud and I'm getting away with something I shouldn't be getting away with,
I
and
think
I'm
so.
going to get called out on.
I think it's feeling.
I
It's
think so.
definitely feeling guilty about having done something to someone in the past, and trying to forget about it, but not being able to live with it.
You think it's that?
In my own research with therapists over the years, it's actually been the former, where it's been
Jolly,
the
it's good
suggestion, since there's no
point
actual
the thing.
violence that happens,
Yeah.
and that there is no like actual victim. It's just someone that I've killed, and the story that's being told is that the cops are after me, and there's a cop, one in particular, who's like, I know it was you, and I'm gonna.
Well, but that's what I'm talking about.
get
You murdered. I don't mean that you.
Did you say
actually.
a cop woman?
No,
Oh,
but
I
that
was
would
like, that's
that
so
would be
interesting.
That would
be
make it
really
yeah.
interesting.
No, stop it.
Oh,
Stop
man.
it.
But I think there's a fear that you're going to lose it all, right? Like if you're going to be arrested, you're going to lose it all. So probably in your life, you've accomplished these things. You have this wonderful family.
That's
and
what you did. You murdered your career.
and you have this great career, and you have this underlying fear. Well, I'm just, who am I? I'm not a writer. I'm not an actor. I'm just Rob. So like, I'm a big phony, and it could all be taken away from me. I am here as your friend to tell you that is true.
Yeah.
And
time.
the sooner you accept that and just let it go and be like, yeah, I'm a big fraud, but so is everyone else. Just ask Steven. Steven doesn't know what he's doing. Each movie is potential disaster. Steven, who just stepped in the room.
Yeah, what's up, guys? What are we talking about? Being
Well, Rob has imposter syndrome, and I say, don't fight it and say, oh, I'm a great creator. That's bullshit. Be like, yeah, I'm a fraud. So what? So everyone's a fraud. So,
fake it till you make it, baby. Nobody is what they are until they do what they do, and then once you do it, then you are what you are, whether you are or aren't. You know, basically what I'm saying is that nobody, like you said, nobody really knows what they're doing, so you just have to do it. You just have to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And you gotta be decisive. That's the thing that you run into a lot of times with the directors where it doesn't work. You
gotta be decisive.
You
gotta
have to be decisive, whether you're right or wrong, doesn't matter. You have to be
right, because you're gonna
decisive.
get down to set. The shark's not gonna work, and then you gotta make choices, right?
You gotta figure it out.
You know, like you could be planning on seeing that shark a lot. Suddenly, you're like, you know what? We're gonna have to make this where you don't see the shark a lot. And then that's a lucky thing, because then suddenly you're like, this movie's better because I'm not seeing the shark as much as I'm supposed to see in the first place. So shut up about your dreams, Rob.
I see you guys.
Yeah, see you, Steve.
This has been fun. All right.
Anyway,
See you on set.
Yeah, we'll see you on set.
See you on set. Wait, are we rolling?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
let's get into it.
It's 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it sure is. 9:30 is, I believe, the time that we said we were going to meet for this podcast. This is becoming a trend.
Now Rob
right?
was pretty adamant about the 9:30. By the way, I've been here since 8:30. You know.
Okay. Why'd you do that?
Well, I dropped my kid off at school,
Mm-hmm.
and that whole thing was done by 8:15, and it's
you
here.
just flew here.
And I was, I'm here. It's he goes to school not so far from this office. So,
Oh boy, yeah.
so I figured I'd come in, get a little work done, and
Sure.
and
Get some coffee in you.
get some coffee in me.
Yeah. Are you on your first or your second cup of
Oh
coffee?
God, no! I've had a thermos of coffee, and then I was like,
Jesus.
I'm gonna get some more coffee. In me.
I can't. I can't do that anymore, man. I've cut way back on my coffee. Yeah.
Anyway, Rob's late.
Now, before we started rolling on this,
Yeah. Here we come. It's
What time is it?
9:30.
Look at your clock.
9:31.
9:31.
9:31.
9:31.
And guess what? I was here and nobody told me that the garage, I have to go to the lower garage, not the upper garage.
Oh, so it was a garage error.
It was a garage error. I was on time.
Well, no, see, on time is when you don't know which garage it is. You get there a little bit early, so
Yeah.
just
No,
in
I
case
did
there's
know what
a...
garage
To make
it was.
sure that you have time to make the mistake of
You
going
knew
to
which
the wrong
garage it was, and you
I
still
did.
made a garage error?
I was told it was the upper garage, and it wasn't.
Oh, you were told it was
You
the
were
upper garage.
lied to
Oh,
about
yes.
garage
Hey.
placement. So there's an upper garage, there's a lower garage.
Who are
they
we
have us
yelling
in
at?
the basement.
Who are we yelling
Who
at?
are
It's
we-
already been done.
The gang goes jihad? The gang goes
The gang
jihad.
went jihad about 15 years ago.
Yeah, I sure did.
Yeah,
You know, one of the things I noticed in the episode as I was watching is I was like, oh, yeah, George Bush was the president.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, he was. Yes, we talk about that.
Yes,
Very
dude.
fair.
We do?
We've
Yeah.
been through four presidents.
Yeah, 4 presidents.
Oh my God, that's too. We've been on for too long, guys. We gotta stop.
I
what are we doing?
I saw an episode.
We've been through 5 presidential terms
Yes.
because
Yeah.
Barack Obama, of course, was elected twice.
Two
so
terms.
So theoretically, it could
5
have been,
terms.
could have been 5 presidents.
Well, did we start? So we started right. We started during Bush's second term.
Yes.
Right.
And then Obama won twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we've been on a long time.
You sure did.
I love this episode.
You did.
Yeah.
I think it held up.
I do too.
I think it holds up.
I think it's pretty funny. Pretty
It's all
great.
right. Yeah, I thought it was all right. Yeah. No, it's great.
There's a lot of yelling.
Is there a lot of yeah, there is a lot of yelling in this one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember hearing a lot of people say, like, wow, that show's just people yelling at each other. And they're right.
Yeah, they're right.
I mean, we were running, we were yelling funny things at each other in this one.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the people who like our show like how we yell at each other. It's fun, I guess.
I
don't
was
know.
thinking about that bit where we come out of the back door and he's put a fence up. The Josh
so much
Stamberg,
yelling in that.
who played that, but it's hilarious. But and I was trying to remember because I can't remember anything. Now, had we scripted that we freak out, or did we just? in the thing, we're like, oh, there's a fence, and that's the joke.
Yeah, I don't think we scripted that we freaked out to the degree that we were freaking out.
Well, I mean, obviously we pushed it, but like, but
we're always gonna push.
But I'm like, that's such a great bit that we go out there and there's a fence, but then beyond that, we panic.
Yeah, we just we feel claustrophobic and we panic.
I would like to go back to the script because I think that the joke was just that we walk out, we see that there's a fence blocking us in, and that's the end of the scene.
I think you're
probably.
Right. Yes, there was a fence, and we were like, he put up a fence. He put up a fence, and
We're downtown. We went through all this work. We put the fence up. Let's do something with it.
Let's yell about it. I mean, let's scream and yell about it.
Yeah.
Well, I will say it was one of our things from the very beginning of the show that we thought could set us apart from other shows, was that it was never my line, your line, your line, my line, my line, your line, my line, your line. It was always like my line. Oh, you want to talk? And then because like the thing is like in a real conversation, the second you have the thing that you want to say, there's a very good chance you're going to cut me off. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
you just did it. Yeah.
You got to jump in.
You got to get in there. Yeah. We're always talking about as actors. Like sometimes we talk over each other too much, and you're like, I have a funny line. I'd really like to get it out. I'm looking for a space to get it in, and I can't get it in because everyone's talking over each other.
You know, there's another thing I noticed that we did in that episode, which we've talked about that we did in the bar where we had music playing in the bar. When you go into my apartment with Frank and I, and we're cooking up the grilled Charlie or whatever it is. Yeah. We have just like a cartoon playing in the background. You don't see it. And I like that. It like creates some atmosphere. And I think it's something we stopped doing.
Yeah, it was like, we like the idea of saying that this 30-year-old man, Charlie Kelly, is constantly watching cartoons in his apartment like a little child.
That scene is so funny.
It's so funny. It is really funny.
It's the idea of a grilled Charlie. It just suggests like history that you have like a sandwich that you make. It's a ridiculous thing. The way you're dressed is funny. And Ann Archer is so amazing.
Yeah, she's very funny in that scene.
It's so fun. I think we mentioned too where we just absorbed each other's mannerisms and stuff. I do something in that where I have my hands kind of back on my hips.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's the posture that you do.
That's a Rob thing.
When you're hitting on the woman at the funeral in season 5, which I always love. I love you do that. I was like, oh, that's the thing.
I probably stole it from
No, Rob, you did it in the Home movie.
In the Home movie?
Yeah,
that's been a thing. That's been a thing of yours for a very long time. The hands on the hips and like thrusting like in a very awkward sort of stance. Like an awkward power stance.
Oh, yeah. It's a very broad move. Drifting off you guys, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, osmosis.
So funny. I thought that episode was, I thought that scene in particular was so funny. I thought Ann Archer was amazing. I thought the slap across your face was great.
Yeah, that was great. I remember we were trying to get her to actually do it.
Yeah.
Oh, to actually slap you and she wasn't comfortable with that?
I can't remember.
I don't remember
that. She did get me once.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the one we used.
No, that's not the one.
Maybe it just wasn't the best take.
Yeah.
Well, something else that's interesting about season 2 was, and I don't remember, I mean, when we were writing season 2, somewhere along the way, we decided to serialize the show. Not that we were necessarily committing to it being a serialized show every year, but there's a continuity.
Yeah, that episode ends sort of open-ended, which is something that we didn't really do again until this year. We did like little bits of it here and there, but
yeah. Well, I think we were trying to explain Frank becoming a part of the gang.
Oh, that's why we did it.
Yeah,
that's why we did it. We wanted to slowly integrate him into the gang, and so
buying the bar.
Yeah.
That's how about this? Do you remember us having a conversation, the three of us, as we were writing the episode? And because we would call the episodes, the gang finds a dead guy, or the gang does this, the gang does that. And then if you recall from the conversation that the characters are having in the cold open, we're referring to ourselves as the gang. And then I remember writing it and us going, wait, should we as the characters know that we're the gang, or should it just be a show thing? So we actually wrote that in to the scene, where you're saying you're not a part of the gang, and then Frank is saying, let your sister become a part of the gang, and Charlie and I are going, what are you talking about?
What gang are you talking about? Yeah, it's like in my head.
So that was like a compromise, I think, that we made.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that we made.
And it's very fun. I prefer it. It's a good bit.
Yeah.
It is a good bit, but it's an example of us very early on getting just a little bit meta. You know what I mean? But I think we always had that tendency.
And then what else about this episode?
I thought the story came together really well.
Yeah.
I like that. it looked and it seemed like it was a big effect that we did at the very end.
Oh,
Right, the
well,
explosion.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
wasn't,
We're
though.
pretty
No,
good.
it wasn't.
Well,
and like you see,
It's just somebody like lobbing debris at us.
yeah, that's
right.
a little yes. But the reverse shot of that.
Yeah, some serious flame bars on that building, which looked pretty
See, like
good.
nowadays we would do that all CG because it's safer, I guess, and cheaper. That was real fire.
Yeah, that was real fire.
No, we wouldn't do CG fire. We did real fire this year.
Yeah,
Should
well, like
we-
one little flame bar, but then we'll enhance that.
Yeah, you
with
enhance it in
CG.
post.
Yeah,
You double it, triple it in post or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if people know what flame bars are. Like, so in that scene when you see the building on fire.
Flame bar. There you go.
Yeah,
you get
just-
it. It's
all
a
right,
bar
fine,
of flames.
Fine, we won't talk about it. Now, guys, this is the first episode where the name of the episode comes first. We didn't do that before. Before it was It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia would come up right after the cold open, and then we would do the title after that. Now, whose idea was it to start putting the title of the show first? Do you guys remember? I don't.
Sure don't.
Yeah, it makes sense though because we would often do some very, very on the nose ending to a cold open, and then boom, the punchline to the joke would be the title of the episode. So it made sense to do that next. But you guys don't remember whose idea that was or how that came about?
No, I just remember
Okay,
trying
great.
a bunch of different things in editing. I do know that this is probably one of the first or earliest times where we started setting up the fact that the characters are somewhat cartoonish insofar as they could get hit. I remember having long conversations about this. The previous episode, we got hit by a car, right? Or
Yeah.
a couple of the characters got like mowed down by a car. Sure. And then we're like, what are we gonna have them in casts for? Like how long from that episode is the next episode taking place? Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it a month? We got to a point where it didn't matter anymore. But in this episode, we had to establish Frank as being
Yeah.
a part of the bar. So we just had them cutting their casts. Our compromise was, no, they'll be fine. We'll just have them cut their casts off in the first scene. And then I think we have Frank wearing
in
a
a boot.
boot. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all that's mentioned.
But the boot is great. The
No,
boot's
you're right. We
hilarious.
had
The
to
boot
do-
adds so much to that episode.
If
Yeah.
we weren't establishing Frank as a character and slowly integrating him into the bar, we would have just showed up in the next episode with nothing.
yeah.
Yeah. What are you thinking about, Rob? Your eyes just went up to the
yeah,
ceiling.
you drifted up to the.
You were looking up to the ceiling, which always tells me that you're thinking about
You had a
something.
joyful memory. About
I was just thinking about how much fun shooting that episode was. I remember being outside. We didn't do a lot of night work in season 1, did we? I can't even remember, but I remember like feeling like we were finding our stride, and it wasn't as much like fighting. I remember the first season, not fighting, but like we were creatively collaborating and trying to find the show. So the first season was really tough, and I feel like the second season got a lot easier. And so like at night, when we were outside shooting that scene where we were throwing the toilet paper, I just remember that being really fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. Well, it was also it's also it was like during those days. I don't think we did it that night, or maybe we did. I don't know. We used to start nipping at some alcohol when we were
I
shooting
think a
night
night
scenes.
shoot's a lot of fun if you're not seeing the sunrise. It starts getting unfun
Oh, yeah.
once you get past midnight. But if once it gets dark, it's like
Especially if you're in your mid to late 20s.
Have you guys ever toilet papered somebody?
like their house.
Yeah, or been toilet papered.
Yes.
Trees for sure.
trees.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about houses. Yeah, trees.
was
Tough
like
to get it over a house.
the day
isn't it?
before Halloween used to be like a go destroy your neighborhood day.
Yeah.
Did you guys
that
have
right?
that?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
we're about to. The kids are gonna get some candy, but before that happens,
Let's destroy our neighborhood.
Let's make them feel as though society's holding on by a tenuous thread here.
We used to do a fun trick where we would pull stop signs out.
Oh, good.
That's good, right?
That is good.
Yeah, that was a good trick, fun trick. Boy,
There was.
I know, just the kind of thing I think about now, and I'm like, what in the hell?
I can
was
remember
I
one
thinking?
specific Halloween where there was word that one of the kids in the neighborhood was going around with bags of shit and throwing them at you. so we were out causing trouble, but being like, man, I hope I don't run into that dude.
The bags of shit guy.
Yeah, and throwing bags of poop comes back in this episode.
We used to also do this thing where we would drive by a mailbox and somebody would hang out the passenger side with a baseball bat and just smash mailboxes.
I wonder if anyone's ever like
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
taking that swing, and then their arms just flew off. Like the mailbox.
Right.
Like
The
you
mailbox
like,
won?
Yeah, like some guys like, guess what, motherfucker? I'm going to reinforce this mailbox.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I'm sure
just,
it has
like,
happened.
takes the
Or put
kids'
some,
arms
some
out.
type of explosive in there so that the whole
Oh,
thing
yeah,
goes.
well, that'll do
wow.
it. That'll do it. Take
That'd
the
be
whole
exciting.
car out. There we go.
We accidentally, me and some friends, decided to light a fire in somebody's front lawn, and ended up lighting their entire front lawn.
in Alabama.
Hilarious.
In Alabama.
Well, you know,
okay.
it's where you-
let's dig into that a little bit,
Yeah,
shall we?
let's avoid that one,
You're
actually.
just trying to have fun. You know what I mean?
Oh,
You're
yeah,
just,
yeah,
you're just
yeah.
going to have
It's a long
fun.
history of that kind of fun in Alabama.
Yeah.
No. Hang on a second. There was nothing like that. It was we were
You just
What were you
admit-
burning?
just-
What were you burning?
Yeah.
we were anything we
Oh.
could get our hands on.
Okay.
Two
Not people.
pieces of wood.
No,
two
two
pieces
of wood was what we were thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you guys were thinking. Oh, that's
Well, it's
interesting.
just
That's an
'cause it's
interesting stereotype. You guys want to talk about how you're stereotyping Alabama? You guys want to talk about that for our fans in Alabama?
Well, you were telling the story about how you were burning things on people's lawns.
No,
in
I
Alabama.
didn't say
Yeah,
burning
yeah. It
things
was
on
a
people's
one-to-one
lawns. I said
connection.
burning their lawn. I said burning their lawn. I said burning their lawn.
Wasn't it?
Hey, man, I just burned their lawn, okay?
Yeah. It was a white people's house, by the way. Okay, in case you're wondering.
Hey, I had a question for you. By this point, were we still we were still shooting in the Barclay Hotel, right?
Yeah.
For Charlie's.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So have we talked about the Barclay Hotel?
No.
Okay, so the Barclay Hotel is this downtown hotel, which probably when it was built in 1925 was the Cat's Meow, right? Like that's the place where everybody wanted to stay, the movie stars and whatnot. This is where all the hep
I'm
cats.
irritated by the fact that you said the cat's meow.
I like it.
It just.
I like it.
All the
it
hep
just-
cats.
Yeah.
all the hep cats
It didn't feel right.
wanted to get down at the Barclay Hotel.
Yeah.
And then sometime probably in
their zoot suits.
mid 60s to 70s, that turned into you can live here if you want. I'm guessing it was around that era.
I
And then
actually believe it was Charlie Parker, famous jazz saxophonist. I think that was his spot.
that was where
really?
he, was where he lived.
Yeah. He would stay there when he was in town.
Oh.
Now he was also famous for
Music.
and
I don't think
I
was he
believe
heroin?
doing excessive amounts of drugs, right?
I don't know. That
I'm
could-
just
I don't know that about
maybe
Charlie
that's I'm
Parker.
stereotyping
You
jazz
could be
musicians.
stereotyping again,
Okay,
man.
fair
Yeah.
enough. Now
Yeah.
we're digging deep. We're
You
digging
might be
deep.
thinking of the guy. Who was the guy that Ethan Hawke played in that movie? He
Miles
was-
Davis.
Come on, man.
He was into the heroin for sure.
Was he?
Miles, yeah.
Miles, big time.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyway, the Barclay Hotel eventually became the kind of place where you could live and or just buy a few nights or buy a few hours,
Right.
I believe. It still exists down there. It's the kind of place. Is that where they found a body in the water well? In the
No, that's
water
a
tank?
different
That's a different
hotel.
one. But it's yeah.
Excuse me. They found a body in the
Cecil.
water.
Oh, you don't know about
Yeah,
this?
in the drinking water.
Oh, this is spooky shit. So they have like images of this woman going up to the 7th floor, and she's acting very strange. Down to the 1st, up to the 7th, down to the 1st, and then that night they find her body in the drinking water.
Well, no, sorry. It's so much more sinister.
Oh yeah. It's worse.
People
Yeah.
are it starts before that where people are like, why is this water taste weird?
Oh God, they were drinking
It
her.
smells bad and it tastes weird and it's like a different color.
Yeah.
And then they went up in there and they were
when
like,
you say the drinking water, you're implying that was not also the shower water. and
yes,
the bath
all of that water.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
all
okay.
of the same water.
Any tap water in one of these seedy hotels is
Okay.
Yeah.
already suspect.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
and they
yeah.
went up there and they found a body in there that had been decomposing for a
The
few
woman had
days.
been going up and down and up and
And
down.
then
the
they have all the
elevator.
security footage of like weird
It's
shit.
very creepy.
Well, wait a minute. What is I can't. I'm
And then
trying
there
to
are
follow
people
the-
that go and try to recreate the steps to see.
Well,
if-
but
see if
are
they
you saying
die.
she put herself in the?
No, of course not.
Why was
You-
she going up and down? Was she going up and down and so much that somebody got irritated and killed her
a
and put her in the
mystery.
water tank?
Well,
It's a myth.
she
You gotta
could have
watch
been
the
trying to
documentary.
avoid.
She's up,
some-
she's down, she's up, and she's down. It's driving me crazy. And then somebody just like murdered her and was like, "I'm putting her in the water."
basically. And I think you just made yourself a suspect.
Well, I'm just saying it
Where
would
were you?
anger me as well. In
There
1930s.
was also a suggestion that she was mentally ill and that maybe she committed suicide. It's all
yeah,
very
but then it was
strange.
like, how do you can't get in the tank?
How do
anyway.
you get into a fucking water tank?
You don't. That's the thing.
Well, no, but how? Like, if I was like, you know what, I'm gonna hop into my water tank at my house. How would I do that?
No,
You don't have
apparently
one.
you could at the Cecil Hotel.
No, one of those big ones on the roof that looks like a
yes.
little. Yeah. It's on the roof of the thing. It looks like a little house.
Looks like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
all right.
great for stashing a body that you want people to then later drink.
That is the thing. There was a guy who was like, I want people to drink her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just kill her. I want people to drink her.
It was
psycho.
Yeah, it was that person.
Oh, God.
Anyways,
Yeah, we'll cut.
Anyway,
There had to be like a really ghoulish guy there. You were just like, I know it was him. I just can't prove it. Look at him. Look at him. He wants me to drink people. You can see it in his eyes. I can see it in his eyes. He wants me to drink people.
I'm just saying, drink some people. All right.
But anyway, the Cecil Hotel and the Barclay Hotel are very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar. Like,
CD
if you
joints.
found out that you were drinking people at the Barclay Hotel, would you be surprised?
No, not in the slightest bit. Not in the slightest.
And that is where we found Charlie's apartment.
Yeah, made
yeah.
perfect sense for them.
And we essentially, yes, we brought in, at the time, furniture and things like that and set design, but I don't think we changed anything else. We didn't change the molding, the floor,
No.
the rugs.
No.
Were the walls maybe even painted that color?
Yes,
I think they were.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think they
because
were.
we didn't have enough money to go in
Strange
there.
blue.
Wow, so that room still exists. I wonder if it looks the same. Because we started building the set a few years after
It's
that.
probably like people are paying like $2,000 a night to stay there now. You know, like who knows?
right.
Downtown is so different now. It's crazy.
Oh right, yeah,
But
yeah.
not like that. Not that street. Not that area.
Yeah, that's still tough.
I think
over
that's
there.
still.
Dan Attias directed all 10 episodes of this season. Wonderful director, mostly known for drama, almost exclusively known for drama, which we preferred because we didn't like it when directors tried to make things funny. We found it made it less funny. So we just wanted somebody who could shoot a story really, really well, and Dan Attias was extremely talented. And we needed somebody who could pull off essentially shooting all 10 scripts as if it was one big script because we only had Danny DeVito for 20 days.
Yep.
And then it ended up being, what, 25 days?
No, I think he gave us way more than
30.
that. I think after the first
Right.
3 days, he was like, "Oh, these guys are fun."
And this is, yeah. Because originally, I think he was like, you got me for 20 days. And we're like, holy shit. We had to shoot
I think
all of Danny's.
originally it was 15 days.
It was
we were
15.
like
It was
3
15
weeks.
days,
Jesus,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had to front load all the Danny scenes we shot pretty much first, with a couple of exceptions. I think we threw in some things for locations and stuff like that. Because do you remember the first scene we shot of the whole season?
Season 2?
Season 2, sorry, yes.
No.
No.
If I am not mistaken, it was the scene that we have where we're sitting in front of the lawyer played by Ravi Patel.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
yeah.
That could be right.
I believe that was the very first scene we shot of the season, and one of the things I know, this is just pure vanity, I decided to get a haircut before we shot that season, and my guy just cut my hair way too short, and I hated it so much. And I remember
and then
that.
you're locked in.
Yeah, I'm locked in. And I just remember that being the very first scene and trying to figure out how to make my hair bigger.
Your hair was small.
It was
I was
so
wondering
small.
what you were wearing. I noticed that was like.
I had a bracelet on in that scene.
Did you have a bracelet
Yeah,
on?
yeah. Just like a little, like black string.
This was the first time I noticed, and I don't know if I did this in the first episode of season 2, but certainly in the second episode, I did notice this, that I had on blue Dickies and black boots, which I then
Oh, that's
proceeded to
really
wear
good.
and continue to wear for the next 14 seasons.
Yeah.
So I
Are you
think
gonna try to keep your I'm probably gonna keep my army jacket and sneakers that I've worn through the whole thing.
What do you
Try
mean
to-
keep them?
No, but they were mine when we started the show, and
Oh,
they're
oh,
mine
yeah.
when we finish.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
the Dickies, I just actually, I brought a few pairs of Dickies back in today to give back to wardrobe because I don't think I'll be wearing those consistently. But, I mean, maybe one day they'll go up in the Smithsonian. What do you think, Glenn?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
no.
doubt
Everything
about
about this show has been celebrated widely by great institutions such as the Smithsonian. So that would be consistent with that. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Absolutely, I think that's going to happen. Let's talk about my buddy Ravi Patel.
Yeah.
Quite good. I quite enjoyed him in that scene.
He's great in the scene. He's great. I love that guy. He and I did a short film together after season 1 of the show, and that's how I got to know Ravi. And then we cast him on the show because he's great. And Ravi and I are still very good friends. I love that guy. I miss him. He moved to Nashville. He's still in the biz, He just decided to get the hell out of Los Angeles and move his family to Nashville. So I'm kind of missing that guy. But yeah, Ravi was great in that. And he also has, I'm going to do a plug. I'm going to do a plug for his HBO show. He did a show. They only did 4 episodes.
Really quick, are they paying me anything?
No.
Okay, so Rob.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a plug for Ravi's show. I'm going to do a plug for Ravi's show.
Sorry, I'm not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to.
Okay.
It's called
Rob,
Ravi Patel's Pursuit of Happiness. And it's great.
It's for Ravi.
Yes.
Ravi's, what's it called?
I believe his name is pronounced Ravi.
No. The show.
Ravi Patel's
Pursuit.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Okay.
Idiot.
This is just like the show where we talk over each other.
Yeah. I remember getting in an argument with Mr. Dan Adius about that Ann Archer scene where she comes in. Do you recall this?
What were you arguing about? What was your argument?
Well, you know, the director traditionally directs the episode and then gets his cut of the episode, and then then the writers and producers come in and post.
Yeah.
And we had quite an argument.
I do remember that
about that specific scene where
in editing.
Yes.
Okay.
Where we had cut it significantly down because we felt it just worked best in the form that you see it today.
Right.
But and Dan had felt as though we had really like butchered the scene.
Uh-huh.
And voiced it, which is
which was his right. But then
we were like, great, thank you very much, and we're gonna air it like this. And then he pushed back.
Yeah,
and then he pushed back on that.
For the folks at home that maybe don't know this, you know, in films, the director has, you know, much more
the final
agency.
Say, except for if he's got final cut.
Some directors get final cut, but usually there's a big P producer that comes in and he gets final cut.
Or she.
No. Usually it's the studio or you know. Not like it's you know, it's Walt Disney or whatever.
Right, they get the final cut, but the director is the big man on campus, or woman,
or they, or them.
Oh my God, on a film, Jesus Christ. Human, the big human on campus is the director.
Well, they may not identify as human. It's the big entity.
Maybe this is a boring part of the podcast, or maybe this is something people find interesting, but even though it seems like it's a lot of fun to make the show, and it is, and it seems like we're laughing and having a good time all the time, we're constantly fighting with each other, like constantly. But I use the word fighting, I mean disagreeing with each other. We're not. Once we realize that our egos are getting involved, which they do from time to time, then we have to check that. But it is a constant negotiation.
Yeah,
it's negotiating with each other. It's I wouldn't say that it's fighting, because that implies that we're just having major disagreements of personality. And that's never happening. That's maybe if it's happening once a season, we're having a sit down. The three of us sit down and say, "Hey, I have an issue with this, that, or the other thing," and it usually happens in the writing process, and it usually, you know, gets settled in an hour discussion, and then we move on. But on set, it's all a creative discussion.
Totally.
You know,
totally. Nobody's ever yelling at each other, but I guess the point is that we're always navigating strong opinions, and we're constantly compromising and working with one another because we respect each other, but that doesn't mean we roll over, right? So everybody feels strongly about. But to your point that you were just saying, Charlie, there's usually at least one big blow up every year that we have to like go our separate ways, and then for a day or so, and then come back and then have a conversation, or like I gotta shoot you guys like a text and be like, I'm sorry, I fucked up, you know, but this year I don't think we had that.
No,
not yet.
No, we did.
We did?
We did. We were. It was something early in the writing where we sat down and we hashed out. It was sort of the same frustration we usually get in the writing process.
And then we were saying we should do this on the podcast. What was that?
It was. The gist of it was you were getting frustrated.
Me, Rob.
Yeah, you Rob, were getting frustrated.
That checks.
Yeah, that tracks, definitely.
Because you had a story thing you liked, and Glenn and I were...
Oh, I know what it was.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt.
He just cut him off. He just cut you off,
No,
dude.
he said...
Dude, do you see that? He just cut you off.
Deflect.
Hold on. Charlie was in the middle of something, and you just jumped right on top of him.
No, we were
Charlie,
mad at him. We were mad at him. Don't deflect.
Doesn't he always do this?
No, but it was that we couldn't get you wanted to just get something done. It was frustrating for you to sort of have to slow down because we were like, no, this isn't good enough. And it was exhausting because you were like, in my mind, I know it works.
I remember what it was.
I did
Do you
too.
remember?
It
Oh, you
was
did?
in the,
Oh, okay,
in the,
sorry.
the castle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a sequence in a castle.
Don't give it away.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't give it away.
Well. Okay. All right. All
Without-
right.
without the
So we have a
specifics.
sequence in a castle that turns bad.
Yeah.
And Rob had a very specific idea of how that should be executed. And to be fair to him, that was the idea that we I think had in the break, right? So that was in the break. That was in the story break that came out of the writer's room and the outline and all that. And it was executed that way. And when Charlie and I read it, we were like, it felt to us as though it was derivative, right? Or something we'd done. It was something that we'd seen before, or something we'd done before in our minds. And in your minds, it was like, no, this is different enough, or it's different, maybe totally. You can attest to your own point of view on this, but you were like, I know this works. Why are we creating extra work for ourselves? Why are we fixing something that I know works?
No, but the argument came out of you wanting to say, all right, fine, then you guys just do it. I don't, and us saying, no. I know it's exhausting, but we don't want you to just say, all right, fuck it, you guys do it.
Right.
We want to have the argument because we know we'll get to the best place. And the justifiable frustration of 15 years of that, is exhausting. But that's sort of a recurring theme, which is that to pull this off the way that we do, it's an exhausting process.
Yeah, there's a lot of push and pull, and we're constantly trying to figure out how to streamline and take that stuff out, so to make the process easier, so that we can have, theoretically, so that we can have more fun. And we don't always totally disagree on where that line is. Like I would say that, Rob, you tend towards, let's just make things easier for ourselves. Not that you're not concerned about quality, you are. But one thing you've brought up before is that sometimes those big blowout arguments or those big fights, those things that like take a lot of energy and time to discuss, will maybe, when all is said and done, make the show 1%, 2% better. And in your mind, you're like, that's not worth it because I've got a life and I've got sanity and I'm 44 and I've got my blood pressure to worry about. That's fair. And sometimes, and I tend to come down on the side of, I would rather have those arguments and potentially make the show 10% better, and then maybe be okay with it if it only makes it 2% better.
Yeah, where we're always negotiating, or where I'm negotiating it in my mind, is when I feel like we're making it 1 to 2% different.
Yes, that is true.
Because better is in the eye of the subjective holder.
Yes. Well, better is in the eye
Of the 2 against 1.
of the 2 against 1.
That's what we've always agreed to.
Yeah.
So
We've always agreed to, and it is a fantastic process creatively. And I will say, on things where I've not had it, I have sorely missed it.
But yeah, other than that, I don't think we had any.
I feel like that argument was.
We're also so used to it now that we probably don't even notice it as many times as we have those things.
That was the shape of argument that we had for like 3-4 years. But I don't remember older ones, what they were about. Do you guys?
Oh God. Older argument, like like arguments about stuff.
Yeah, I don't really remember any of them, really. I don't feel like we had that many of them.
We did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we've had so many. So many.
What about?
they were less of we weren't as capable of communicating, I think. So we would just get pissed off and walk away. But I can't remember.
When we
exactly.
were younger and more insecure and maybe felt that we had something to prove to the other person, if they felt like, it was almost like, this person thinks he's smarter than me. You know what I mean? And I have to prove that I'm just as smart and creative as the other person. You know what I mean? Almost like there was the thing of like, not competitive, but when you dig your heels in on something because you feel like it's when your ego slips into it. And we've gotten much better about recognizing when I'm fighting for something that I want because my ego can't let it go versus I really genuinely think that creatively this is the best decision. We've gotten a lot better at figuring out when it's our egos instead of when it's not a creative discussion anymore. It's just a digging my heels in because my ego is hurt. And that's something, honestly, that's something that I think that has served me in my real life too. through doing that so many times and being in uncomfortable arguments with people that I don't, because I don't like confrontation. But getting comfortable with being in those confrontations has made me able to face that kind of stuff in my personal relationships too. It's been therapeutic for me.
I don't recall ever feeling like that from either of you guys, and always feeling like it was about a sense of what is the best version of this TV show, and digging in on that, but never ever really feeling like it was like an ego thing, but always like strong opinions about like, well, what's going to make this work or not work, which I think is great.
Yeah. Well, you know, different strokes for different interpretations for different.
I'll have to go through and make a list of all the things that we used to fight about. I mean,
different interpretations for different beings. You know, doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
What does something have to be?
Right. That's
But can you guys? I truly can't remember what any of the arguments were about. Can you actually remember those? I mean, I can remember this season because it was only a couple months ago.
It's usually about you not being able to remember stuff. Well, okay. How about this? Let's talk about. This is the first time we ever sang a song.
Oh, yeah.
We came up with the idea of like. We thought it was very funny. The idea of
that wasn't scripted, right? That was us like sitting there at the end of the episode.
Scripted.
That was not
like,
scripted.
We're just sitting here at the bar waiting for Frank to come in. We should do something.
Yes. Well, and the thought was, what's the most nonchalant follow-up to having blown up a building next door?
That's a good bit.
And possibly being, you know, because you expect it to come into the next scene and be like, what are we going to do, guys? We got to make sure that there's no fingerprints. We got to make sure, like, how do we cover our asses here? We're gonna be in big trouble. But no, we're in the bar working out the harmonies to the Extreme song, More Than Words.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very funny at the time.
I'd forgotten it watching it, and
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about
I thought
that.
it sounded pretty good too.
Yeah, we did sound pretty good. We sounded all right.
left this episode.
Not bad.
If I'm thinking about the first episode of season 1, where my thought after watching it was, I wonder why people like this show or started to watch this show. I watched this episode and I was like, I wonder why more people didn't love this show. Why weren't people watching this show? Because it's good.
I think I've always said this. I really do think that the look of the show is a bit of a turnoff for people.
Yeah.
The name, the title is tough.
The title is tough. But also, like, I think our sense of humor is very specific, and sometimes it takes people a second to go, oh, okay. I still think there are some people who just don't get what the joke is. Like, I mean,
right.
I've often talked about how I had to watch The Kids in the Hall 3 or 4 times before I would watch that show and I'd be like, this is so stupid. This is so fucking dumb. I don't get it. Even as a kid, I was like, this is so juvenile and dumb. Like, the jokes are just dumb. And then, like, the 4th or 5th time, something clicked. I don't remember what sketch I was watching. Something clicked where I was like, oh, it's dumb on purpose. They're smart, making a show doing sketches about dumb people. And then it became funny to me.
A lot of my favorite things to watch, movies, whatever, are things that get better, significantly better on your second or third watch.
Right. People often, that was why The Big Lebowski wasn't a big hit right off the bat. Because
That's a
some
great
people
example.
had to see that movie 2 or 3 times.
The more you watch it, the more you get out of it.
Yeah.
And what a terrible business model that is to like make something that you're like, well, the next time you watch this is going to be better. But lots of very popular movies I could never sit through again.
Well, also, but
all the great ones, in my opinion, like on your first viewing, you're like, huh.
But
and then you watch it again.
It's not like I don't think anyone consciously goes, nobody's going to get this the first time around. But
no,
the second time
not.
around, you know what I mean? Nobody
Yeah.
consciously.
No, you're just layering things in that are subtle and then.
Right. And hopefully doing something different. I mean, I think anytime.
And by the way, a lot of people probably watch those movies and totally get them the first time around.
Yeah.
It's probably just a statement.
But I find it to be the same thing with music too, where I'll listen to an album from a band that I like, and there'll be like 1 or 2 songs on there, and I'm like, I'm just not into that song. but I force myself to keep listening to it as I listen to the whole album through from beginning to end. And oftentimes those songs that were not very good to me at first become my favorite songs and the ones that I listen to the most, because I don't know what that is. It's like when something's really catchy right off at the offset, it's like it gets old faster, you know. But when something takes a little bit more like time and work to kind of sort of like suss out what makes it special, sometimes that has more staying power. I don't know, in my experience.
And I also find, if you use music as an example, like whenever you talk to those like musicians, whether they're like Kings of Leon, like huge or Imagine Dragons, and I'll ask them like when like they're writing into music, they don't think of themselves as big pop stars or big rock stars, nor do they think of themselves as like niche. They're just like, I'm making what I make. I don't know, and it just seems to like, and I feel like I feel like I don't think of ourselves as niche, even though we are. I'm just writing what I think is funny, so I think everybody is going to think it's funny, but they don't.
There's some truth to that in terms of you're making something that plays by its own set of rules, and those rules are completely intangible, and you're looking at it and you're either saying, this isn't following the rules, or this isn't adding up to, you know, what it's supposed to add up to, but there's no like pie chart of like, this is what an episode is, this is what a story is. It's just something like you've internalized, I guess, from watching other things, and it either feels like the thing or it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you can't really point a finger at anyone or anything. You're just killing yourself. You're like, why doesn't this compute? I mean,
this is why I'm a bit like I'm always I overuse the word authentic, because it really is true for me that I don't like it when I feel like a musician or a show or a movie is doing it for me. I want the musician or the band or the show, I want it to be that they are doing something that they love, and they almost don't give a shit if anybody else likes it. I want to feel like they could care fucking less if I like it.
There's a weird middle ground in there where it's like you truly can make a movie or an album for no one, and then you listen to it and you'll be like, right, this is for no one.
Well, no, but I'm not. No. But that's yes, and that does exist. I mean, you know, certainly where somebody makes something that's purely for themselves and it's absolute trash because it literally is only something that person could enjoy.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm referring to is when you feel like a band, they just write the best, the coolest shit that they can come up with that really means something to them and is like fucking awesome for them, and you know, then can't understand why nobody else likes it, and then there's a few niche people who do. Or in the example of Imagine Dragons or Kings of Leon, where they're just writing songs, they're like, I don't know, this is like this, we think this fucking kicks ass, and then they put it out into the world and the world agrees. They're like, this does kick ass. This is great. And that's where, you know, you get extraordinarily lucky because you've done something authentic to yourself, and then it's ironically something that makes you very successful. And I mean, in our case, we made a show. We were always making a show that, well, I was just trying to do something that I thought was funny, and I enjoyed making you guys laugh, and that's all. And I was like, I'm gonna let that just be the barometer, right? If it's making us laugh, fuck it, that's what we'll do. You know what I mean? And we did that from the beginning, and I think most of it was because we were, at least for me, I was fairly convinced that it probably wasn't gonna catch on, and that it wasn't gonna work. So I was like, so I want to go out doing something that I'm proud of, and then it did work, sort of. Sort of worked.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been fun.
It's been fun, but it hasn't been funny. Maybe it
I
doesn't
was
always
laughing.
need to be funny. Were you laughing?
I was laughing earlier.
Here's what we're going to do now. Now we're going to go and we're going to sit and we're going to look at an episode. And we're going to sit the three of us and we're going to look at an episode.
When you say look at an episode, we're going to edit.
We're going to edit.
We're going to get in the editing room. This is our first day in the editing room of season 15.
Yep.
We've watched a little bit.
We've already given, Charlie and I have given notes on a a few cuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't ask me to come.
No,
and
it's
do
always
that.
good to have fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Always good to keep fresh eyes.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
You think we're gonna-
Let's go with that.
Well, we can maybe even lock one today.
We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't want to put any pressure on.
Put
the
one to
time.
bed here. You know.
Well, we just put everybody else to bed, so why don't we put one of the episodes to bed?
Glenn! All right, Glenn!
free. I see you standing downtown with the girl I love, and I like fuck you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like fuck you and fuck you. Said if I was richer, still be richer. No, ain't that some shit? And although that's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best. Fuck you. Now I know that I had to borrow, begging, stealing, lying, cheat, trying to keep ya, trying to please ya. Being in love with your ass ain't cheap. Now I can picture the fool that falls in love with you. Well, I've got some news for you. I'm really being your ass right now. I see you coming down with the girl I love, and I'm like, fuck you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, fuck you and fuck you. Said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. No, ain't that some shit? And although that's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best. Fuck you. Now, baby, why hurt me so bad? So bad. I tried to tell my mama, but she told me this is one for your dad. She did. And I was like, change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, fuck you and fuck you. See you standing down with the girl I love, and I'm like, fuck you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, fuck you and fuck you. Said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. No, ain't that some shit? And although that's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best. Fuck you. See you standing down with the girl I love, and I'm like, fuck you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, fuck you and fuck you. Said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. No, ain't that some shit? And although that's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best. Fuck you.